Too loud.
Fermez la porte.
Close the door, please.
Ok, fermez la porte.
They start now.
Yes, so today we
were talking that.
want to talk about the Torah in the heart.
Right.
And how it is many times misunderstood. Some folks think that the Torah comes just because they said to have the Ruach HaKodesh. So we're going to look at some few points to see what does it mean to have the Ruach HaKodesh, and that there is condition to have the Ruach HaKodesh. First, I will quote from Yeshua in the book of Yohanan. He gives us a very interesting point. He said in the chapter 16 of the book of Yohanan, in the verse 13, he said, "Howbei, when the Spirit of truth is come, he will guide you into all truth, for he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, shall he speak." So he said that the Ruach HaKodesh, the Spirit of truth, will lead us into all truth. So we will have to determine what is the truth in order to know the work of the Ruach HaKodesh in the life of believers. But before I go there, I want to read from another place in the book of Acts, which is in the chapter 5. And it is written in the chapter 5, let me see if I am in the right place. Yes. Chapter 5, verse 32. Here is Kepha, Peter, speaking, and he say, "And we are his witnesses of these things, and so also the Ruach HaKodesh, whom Elohim has given to them that obey him." The him here refers to Elohim. So the Ruach HaKodesh is given to those who obey Elohim. Paul write to speak to Timothy, or write to Timothy following. In 2 Timothy, he said in chapter 2, he said to Timothy was a young man who was following Shaul and was really eager to do the things which are good. And he said to following to Timothy, "Study to show thyself approved unto Elohim, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." So again, we see the word of truth to lead us into all truth. And I can add another one from the book of John, chapter 17, where we read Yeshua speaking to the Father and said, verse 14 to 17, "I have given them thy word, and the world has hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. I pray not that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil, from Satan. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth." So here again we see thy word is truth. So we have a small details here that it said thy word, the davar of Elohim is truth. And we have read in the book of Acts that Jehovah gives the Ruach HaKodesh to those who obey him. The prophet Ezekiel speak and say in Ezekiel 36, he say, from the verse 24, you can read for yourself, "For I will take you from among the Goyim, the nations. It is written in the King James, it is written heathen, but the word in Hebrew is goyim, and gather you out of all countries.
Ezekiel what?
In Ezekiel 36 from the verse 24. I will take you from among the goyim and gather you out of all countries, plural, and will bring you into your own land. Here speaking about the scatterer from the house of Israel. You can see that in the verse 17. Then I will sprinkle clean water upon you. It shall be clean from all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you. If you follow my posting on Torah, you will see that sprinkling with clean water, it means with the Torah. Okay, Paul refers that in, I think it is in the book of, let me see, before I say something wrong, I will give you, you see here, let me see where it is written. Yeah, okay. He said here, I will. Then I will sprinkle clean water upon you. I repeat the verse from the prophet Ezekiel. And you shall be clean. From all your filthiness, from all your idols will I cleanse you. Also the cleansing of the water, Shaul understood it to be the Torah. He wrote in the book of Ephesians, in the chapter 5, he said, 5:26, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of the water by the word. The word is considered in Hebrew interpretation to be also referring to water, living water, running water, washing water. So here he say, I go back to Ezekiel 36, then I will sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean. From all your filthiness and from all your idols will I cleanse you. Remember, the topic today is Torah in the heart. A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh. I give you an heart of flesh. And I will put my ruah, my spirit, within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, shall keep my judgment and do. And you shall dwell in the land I gave to your father, and you shall be my people. I will be your Elohim. Okay. So you see here, he said that he will put his ruah in us, and he will cause us to walk in his statutes, and you shall keep the judgment of Elohim. So this is where we have now a starting point to understand what does it mean to have the Ruach HaKodesh in us. We remember, Yeshua say, praying to the Father, sanctify them through thy word is truth. We see now, he said that also in the chapter 16, he said that when the Comforter comes, he will lead us into all truth. Now, I will go to the Psalm 119 and read. In the Psalm 119, is the Psalm of David, we read following. We read following. In the verse 18 on, David writes, forever Yehovah, thy word is settled in heaven. And he keeps going. This is a psalm which must be studied, and it's very, very interesting. He says in the verse 142, thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and that Torah is the truth. Now we have a clear definition what is the truth. That Torah is the truth. Verse 151, you are near, O Yehovah, and all thy commandments are truth. Verse 160, thy word is true. from the beginning, every one of thy righteous judgment endures forever. You see? So now we have a clear definition of what is the truth. The truth is the Torah of Jehovah. Also, what is the Torah? The Torah is a multitude of Torah added to one another, because Torah means instruction, given in the 5 books of Moshe. And they are given us in order to sanctify us. Remember, Yeshua said, sanctify them through thy word, for thy word is truth. So this is here where I come. And if I say that today, it is because I have seen many folks who babble, discuss vain things without having foundation. The problem is because they go in many assemblies where the leaders never, and I say again, never motivate them to study the Torah. You see, there is a tradition which existed already from the 1st century and even before. But at least we can prove it that it was already so in the 1st century, that the Torah was read every Shabbat. Every Shabbat. So we go to the book of Acts and read. And read in the Act 15, we're going to read. Here was a discrepancy concerning some from the Jew who wanted the new believers coming to be circumcised in order to be saved. This is verse 1 from the chapter 1. And certain men which came down from Yehudah told the brethren, except you be circumcised after the manner of Moshe, you cannot be saved. And this was a controversy, and Paul was not satisfied with that. And with Barnabas, they decided to go to the pillars in Jerusalem, which are Yohanan, Kepha, and Yaakov. And they went to them to ask them what is their view on the things. And this Paul, and they speak about that, and we see that Kepha was saying, now therefore, why tempt you Elohim to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciple, which neither our father nor we were able to bear? And they go on discussing. Then Shimon has declared, our Elohim at the first did visit the Goyim to take out of them people for his name. You see, he said he will take the Goyim. So now, and to this agree the word of the prophet, as it is written, after this I will return and will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down, and we build again the ruin thereof, and we set it up. So first of all, we could, that I will do maybe in another video, speak of what is the tabernacle of David, and which is fallen down, and we build again the ruin thereof. Okay, because it's very interesting. If you research, you will see the tabernacle of David is the foundation. The tabernacle of David is the foundation of the reunification of Yehudah and the house of Israel. That the residue of man might seek after Jehovah, and all the Goyim, Gentiles, upon whom my name is called, says Jehovah, who does all these things. Now, Yaakov is speaking, and he says, know unto Elohim are all these words from the beginning of the world. Wherefore, my sentence, Yaakov, is that we trouble not them which from among the Goyim are turned to Elohim, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollution of idols, fornication, from sin, strangles, and from blood. But he doesn't stop there, saying, okay, you can keep all these 4 commandments, it's finished. No. This is the requirement in the beginning. And if we go in a deep study, we will see that these 4 requirements was to reverse the curse from Ephraim as is spoken by the prophet. But this is for another time. He keeps going and say, for Moshe of all time, as in every city, them that preach him being read in the assembly every Shabbat day. Moshe of all time are them that preach him been read in the assembly every Shabbat day. You see that already in the 1st century and before, the Torah, what we call the Torah today, the 5 book Moshe were read in the assembly every Shabbat. Every Shabbat. And if you make a research in internet, you will find out that every family, according to Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 6, was training their children by teaching them the Torah by heart from the age of 8. So many, not all, but many knew the Torah by heart. It was, at this time there was no internet, there was no mobile phone, there was nothing, there was no entertainment, there was no cinema, there was nothing, there was no car, there was no swimming pool, there was no rugby, there was no football, there was nothing. But the center of the light was turned toward the Torah of Elohim. So everyone who wanted to have a place also in the society was learning Torah. Today, it is amazing that we see all around people babbling, and when you speak about the Torah, they have nothing to say because they never study the Torah. So, I go back to my verse from the book of Timothy, 2 Timothy. He say here, after he tell Timothy to study, to show himself approved unto Elohim, a workman that need not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. He say, but, he say, shun profane, vain babblings, for they will increase into more ungodliness. You see, they were already in the first century people. Blah, 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 blah. Philosophy, but nothing. And he goes on, He explained, and he goes up to the verse 23 where they say, but foolish and unlearned question avoid, knowing that they do gender strife. You see, it's very interesting because he say, foolish and unlearned question. What is unlearned question? Knowing that they do gender strife. Then debate, what you talk about something which is not foundation, which foundation is not the Torah. Okay. And the servant of Jehovah must not strive, but be gentle unto all, apt to teach, patient. Okay? This is how the attitude it is. Okay? It's not a sweet business. Gentle to be sweet. Gentle to be more, to be patient with people in spite of rejection, in spite of opposition, to be patient. Okay? Now, for the Torah is the foundation of all things, is the foundation of holiness, as to be kadosh. It's a commandment of Jehovah. Everyone knows it. Be kadosh, for I am kadosh. But we need to put this Torah in our heart. We need to do the work. The Ruach HaKodesh will not take anything from our heart what we don't have put inside. If we have nothing, we will go empty, and in a time of challenges, we will not know what to do. This is why we need to apply the system which exists already in the first century, to read the Torah every Shabbat and to meditate in the Word. If I go to the Psalm number 1, it gave us the way to do it. He said, blessed is the man that walk not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the Torah of Jehovah, and his Torah does he meditate day and night. And he will bear fruit. Okay, he will bear fruit. The one who do that, he will avoid to go for vain debate, vain discussion, to sit with the ungodly, to sit with all who like to strive with others. But he will study the Torah and he will meditate on it. And this is a long process. I have explained in other parashot, and I will repeat shortly here. We have two great examples of life changing. Life changing do not come in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. No. Life changing is a long period by studying the Torah. Today we are busy people. We have many things we are doing. We are busy with ourselves, earning money. Yes, of course we need to earn money. Internet, and so on. Cinema, whatever. Some go, make a lot of sport, and so on. So we are very busy, and so this is a process. We not go so far when we study. If we look at the life of Yaakov and Joseph, these are the two examples we should study in order to know the process in our life. It took 20 years to Yaakov to become Israel when he went to Laban, his uncle. It took 20 years for Joseph to sit at the right hand of Pharaoh. Do you imagine today that we take 6 months or 3 months or 1 week to have the Torah in your heart? No, it will not. It will take you a long time. It takes us a long time. It is a life running process to become Kadosh.
Israel.
To become Am Israel, a people who are the people of Elohim. If we don't accept that, oh yes, we may be a good talker. We may be, those who impress others in the assembly by their small talk, by their so-called knowledge. But we cannot cheat Elohim. He knows the heart of every man. It's not because I am a good talker. You have some believers, and we know some, they are very smart in talking. But at the end of the day, if you listen to their talk, it is vain babbling. There is nothing inside to build up. There is nothing inside that will change the life of the believers. So, the conclusion of the matter in this point is that if we want to have the Torah in the heart, we will have to do our part. We will have to study. We have to study and to study and to study in order to give to the Ruach HaKodesh the substance needed when we are in time of struggle, in time of conflict, in time of different situation. Then we will be able to listen to the small voice who will remind us, in this situation, remember what was spoken there, what was speaking in the proverb, what was speaking in the psalm, what was speaking there. And he will bring us back to the truth. So this is how it works. So this video is meant just to encourage one another to turn back to the Torah, to study the Torah. And I know there are some who do it. There are some who do it, yes. And thanks Jehovah for that. But the majority of people today, especially you, all the young people, I see that in this social media, Facebook, how boastful they are, how immature they are, because they just believe I am a Torah keeper, because I keep the Shabbat, because I don't eat baboy or pork, because I just participate on the feast, and they think they are Torah keepers. I don't think so. I don't think Torah keeper means much more. Okay? We can say yes, they are starting to...
Torah keeper means Torah lifestyle.
They are starting to do what the Torah requires. But you see, we need to understand. I came across somebody who said, because I asked what is love. And the reply was, the Good Samaritan. Is that love? Or is that just one part of the Torah? How can we know what does it mean to love your neighbor as yourself if I don't know the Torah? To love our neighbors as ourselves has many facets, has many positions, and we need to know it, and we will only know how to do it in the right moment when we study the Torah. If we don't study the Torah, we may Yeah, we may fall short, or we may sin because we don't know the Torah. Okay? Because sin is a transgression of the Torah.
Because some, when they say Torah, only 10 commandments.
Yeah, that is another point. Some things Torah equal 10 commandments.
10 commandments.
But you know,
They cut
that is
the word
also a shortcut, you know, because the 10 commandments are just the summary of what in Judaism is called 613 commandments. Okay? So many commandments are there which come from the 10 commandments, the 10 davar, the 10 words. And if we want to go so far, we know that Shaul, Paul, explained that the whole world had the Torah in his heart. All people, even the pagans have the Torah in their heart. Oh, you may be surprised. You may say that I am wrong, but I am not wrong. And if you search, you will find out that the Torah, the problem is the definition of Torah. Torah is instruction. Okay, when Shaul spoke about Torah, he knew exactly what does it mean. The Torah of Moshe is a compilation of many Torah. There are many. Don't forget, the scripture was not written in one book. There were many little scrolls put together, which make the Torah of Moshe. Many scrolls written down, which made the Torah. And this one, the Torah of Moshe, which become the Torah of Moshe. Okay, so this is what we have to understand. The world today has the Torah in their heart, but not like you and me are recommended to have. They have only the Torah which relate man-to-man relationship. And if you want to know that, you have to look at the book of Romans chapter 2 and see that shall explain that the Goyim have also the Torah in their heart, but not in the same measure like we have the Torah in our heart, by putting in our heart. So, and how do we know that? It's very easy to understand, because I don't know any man in the world who will say, oh, I didn't know that I should not kill this man. I didn't know that I should not steal this man. I didn't know that I have not to take the wife of my neighbor. I didn't know that I want the car of my neighbors or the house. You see, these are the Torah in the heart of the people of the world. These are not the same measure, but every man has a Torah, and after this measure, the world will be judged. Jehovah will not judge the people because they eat baboy. He will not. He will not. Because it is not required for the world until the return of Mashiach not to eat baboy. But it is required for us who turn back to the Torah not to eat baboy, to become Israel.
Just not only.
Set apart. But the people of the world will be judged for their behavior toward other men. This is how they will be judged. Okay? And this is very important to understand before we... This is why Paul say that we do not judge the world. It is Elohim who is the judge of all men. Okay? So I hope this will help to understand that if we want to have the Torah in our life, we need to study the Torah. And if we don't do that, we will go empty. I don't speak about salvation. It has nothing to do with salvation. It has to do with a lifestyle. A lifestyle which will fulfill our life, or fill our life with holiness, with set-apartness, or with deception. Okay? So, thank you for your watching. Hope it will help you, and see you in the next video. Shalom. Bye bye for now.